They told us that print was dead, and they told us that it was a bad idea to start a magazine in a digital age, but they don't know shit.
We pursued it anyway, and we had a vision, and we saw a void in the marketplace, and here we are today.
Hey everyone, it's Neffy Anderson here with a brand new episode of The Path Less Traveled, a web series spotlighting millennial entrepreneurs who successfully turn their passions into lucrative careers. Now today's guest is digital strategist Lindsey, creative director Nkrumah Farrar, and together they are the founders of Crown Magazine. Now let me give you the rundown on Crown Magazine. Crown Magazine is a quarterly hair publication that is committed, can you say committed? Let's say it together, committed to creating progressive dialogue around what it really means to go natural in America. Now, through beautiful content, thoughtful commentary, hair inspiration, and resources, Crown Magazine is helping women all over the world throughout their natural hair journey. I just want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to interview you both together, because I feel like this is y'all first on-camera interview together, so I feel blessed.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So,
loving the energy.
yes, you
Make
know.
me wanna.
You know, turn up. So you guys are not new to this, y'all true to this. So y'all know, just like how they do in church and they say take a moment to pull out your Bibles, take a moment to pull out your phones, make sure that you tweet using that hashtag TPLT series. All right, so let's get a little background information on the birth of Crown Magazine. First of all, I want to know, where did the idea even come from?
You take that one.
It came from a rooftop in Crown Heights.
Oh,
It did.
You know, I was out here on the corporate dime, and you know, I was out here for work, and I stopped to visit Lindsey, and she has such great hospitality. She cooked. We had something to drink. We was on the roof. We were talking, and we were just really having a real conversation about what is happening, what's going on, and I just threw it in the air. And she pulled it out of the air and was like, let's do it.
I think we always are talking about ownership, you know, about really what we say, getting off the plantation.
yes.
Talk about
Getting off the corporate, you know, getting out of the corporate life. We both had our stints in corporate. And
Definitely.
it just definitely was not, I knew for me, I was just like, I have to get out of this. Like, it wasn't the company, it was me. You know, like, I was not built for that mold.
And, you know, really to add you know, for me, all of the best opportunities come from observing culture.
Ooh.
And so when you look at human behavior, you will find you will find a solid opportunity for commerce.
So with you being able to like observe the culture and everything, I think that it's kind of like amazing that you had this idea, because you're a guy, and I think like a guy would be like the last person that you would think or that you would expect to think about, you know,
with a beard.
a female's hair in this way.
You ask black men how they prefer sister's hair to be, either they'll say, oh, I don't mind however she wants to express herself, or they will say, I like it when her hair is natural.
They mature, they grown up.
It's a real thing. Like, you know, it's important because when a woman wear a protective style, that means I probably can't touch her hair. You see?
You smart.
Yeah. And so I want your hair to be natural, you understand?
Right. So I know that like off camera we spoke a little bit about how, you know, from the idea to the execution, there was like a little bit of like a lag on the runway. I think it was like maybe like 2 years or so. So talk to me about like what happened during that time for you guys.
We simmered, we incubated the idea, right? So we did a lot of research, a lot of interacting and actually becoming a part of the community before we offered a product. And so that's why when we actually announced, we were able to do so in a very credible fashion, because for many months, I had been deep in the hashtag trenches of Instagram.
Yeah, because you were looking at it even before
we
I thought
talked,
about
yeah.
it as a business idea.
And this is something that's very important because a lot of young entrepreneurs enjoy the culture of being an entrepreneur, the idea that they have command over their time and they get to do something creative. And so they put on a show for themselves and their friends.
That's real.
Right? Instead of really architecting and structuring a business. And then likewise, in the era of the tech startup boom, you have this idea that you can put together an idea and then go raise money instead of building a business, right? So the idea, Damon John, this year he put out The Power of Broke, which I thought was very compelling because when you don't have a lot of seed capital, you have to be very creative about how you start, and it forces you to build a business. So from the very beginning, we worked on how we would monetize Crown, right? And so we started a process at the same time of introducing and building a brand. We were also architecting and structuring how the business would sustain itself.
So you told me that you automatically, like off the bat, you came up with 14 different revenue streams that you guys could have.
Definitely.
Which is like amazing.
Well, you see, we both.
And that got my attention.
Right.
I'm like, okay, we got something here.
When you have an idea for a business, you have to prove the business case. And especially since we were both getting corporate money and consulting money, I had to prove to myself why I should leave that alone,
right.
and prove that, there was an actual opportunity here and define what the opportunity was. It's been almost 2 years to date, right? So like we launched officially at Afropunk last August in Brooklyn.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so
we printed up a folded, what we called our zero issue, or our demo tape of sorts.
Okay.
And so it's our demo tape.
Okay.
People are like, oh, okay, we get it. But even with that, we were very calculated with what content we included. So when you first open it, it's like, this is the problem we see.
Yeah.
This is the promise that we will deliver. Then you open it further, and there was information about what was happening at Afropunk after dark, like different stuff you could do in Brooklyn around the weekend. And the bottom of that was kind of like a tease of it was like a Bantu not out. So it was what future technique content would look like in the magazine. And then you open it even bigger, and there's like an Instagram roundup with like different beautiful natural women of all different shades, sizes, color. Like it was just amazing. And then the right-hand side was a big poster. And what was on the bottom? I think just like call to actions and stuff. So we were like, okay, we want someone to put this on their wall. We want people to understand like why we're doing this first.
Right.
And so each panel had a very specific purpose and kind of was like a microcosm of what the future magazine.
Yeah, we used that initial zine as proof of concept, and
Right.
I promise you we would not be here today
Right.
if we had not done that activation, because essentially what we did was we had done research and we had conversation and we had put some stuff on paper to prove the business case to ourselves.
Right.
Then we went and we saw the customer face to face. We had 500 one-on-one or two-on-one interactions with black women with natural hair, and showed them presented our offering, and got to see what their reaction was. And their reaction was,
oh my gosh,
very compelling.
Yeah.
We knew halfway through the exercise that we definitely had a business on our
And
hands.
it's funny because just going out there, it was like, I mean, it looks pretty, I like it, but you don't know, you know? But then when you see your customer, first off, be like, how much is it? And it was free. We were exchanging it. Actually, that's part of our strategy too. We were exchanging it for email subscription. So we just took the service was bad, so it was like put it in the notes section. You know, nothing fancy. We just took down emails. We had people follow us on Instagram. So within a month, we had like 1,000 Instagram followers.
Wow.
That's another thing. Our growth on Instagram has been just under 1,000 followers a month. But the fact that we started with 500 followers at one time, because we talked to 500 people.
Right.
So within one weekend, we established our presence on Instagram, and it just grew.
Okay, wait. So I want to back it up a little bit. So in you launching an Afropunk, was that like, all right, you take 250, I take 250, we walk around, like how was, or like did
We
you
wish it was.
station somewhere and like people can't, because I know that we live in a society where there's like so much noise, or somebody's always trying to sell you something, tell you like, don't talk to me, I got my headphones in, don't talk to me. So how did you like, what did you do to like get that person's attention and like not have them like block you out?
Yeah, well, I think honestly, it was his idea. It was super smart. It's like, that is our audience.
Right.
Like, if anyone is gonna like this product, it's gonna be the Afropunk community.
So did you like pass it? Like how I'm thinking like
No, we weren't flyering.
Right.
I would walk up to her sis and say, hey,
engage in conversation.
sis, I made this for you. And I hand her the zine. And then as she's looking at it, and when she opens it, I'm speaking directly to what's on the page in front of her.
Right.
And talking her through, what our mission is and what the product is, really conveying what our purpose was in doing this.
Right. And the response, it was like, people looked at it, they saw it, and then they were like, and it was like seeing that interaction, being both of us are digital strategists by trade, like there's not, like usually it's like, oh, okay, I got followers, or I got this many impressions, or this many hits this month, whatever.
Right.
But to see and really interact with your customer in this age,
I
think just gave us a certain like fortitude, because we were like, people have told us print is dead, but I just saw what I saw.
So, what do you guys know now that you wish you knew when you first started? But you gotta break it down for me. I'm trying to go with you on this journey in detail. Like,
well, I think it's a little bit tricky to answer, because not like, oh, we know everything, we both remarked that it's like, and I believe in the divine. So I really believe that my steps have been ordered until this point. And like looking at my career, looking at his career, it's like, I've done ad sales, I've done content, I've done digital strategy, like everything. I've done pretty much everything it takes to create a magazine except create a magazine.
Right.
And on the visual side, he's done very similar things. So it's like, and I've worked in startups. This is my third business. So I think
we were ready.
Right. It was like, there's things that of course we've learned, but I think we also were they weren't surprising. It was like, okay, we're gonna get through this because we've done something similar before.
So the biggest takeaway is that you can master plan your business. You can spend all this time on the business plan, but it's not gonna mean anything if you cannot adapt as things arise.
And one huge takeaway for me is, don't build a kingdom. Like I've done that in my career, where it's like, we're gonna have all the content and all the and then you're gonna have all this traffic, and then you start thinking about a business model, which I see a lot of people doing in the content space. Everyone has a blog, everybody has this thing, and so you're doing all of this legwork and creating all this content, but you haven't. It's like, get the sale. Like how are you going to convert and get money coming in?
Right.
Do that as soon as possible.
Right. And I think that, just to back up what you both said, is that, like there's levels to this, but most people, they don't think it, like, it's instant gratification. And sometimes you have to be very careful about like what you wish for. So it's like, ooh, like I want to get like a lot of followers or whatever. But it's like, once you get it, people expect for you to like perform, produce, like, all right, you got me here, like how are you gonna keep me? And like the letdown is real. So it's like, you have to be able to deliver, you have to know how you're gonna sustain yourself. So individually, what would you guys say is one thing that most people don't know about your career journey to where you are today? Because it's so easy, especially in the social generation, the digital age, to look at you like, oh, y'all fly, y'all always been popping, and just to know, like, it both sounds that you guys have like extensive backgrounds in like varied fields. Your work experience is pretty thorough. And so I know that it's like easy for someone to just look from the outside, saying that like, y'all popping, y'all always been popping, and like,
Well, I mean, for me, straight up, I put in my 10,000 hours. Working as a designer for cheap or for free, I spent a lot of time. And actually everything that I know how to do of value, every marketable skill that I have, I taught myself, and it took a long time. So while my friends was out, I was in front of my computer for years.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why, you know, which Lindsey was talking about, you know, our career paths. We had prepared ourselves for this. Like, we put in our time. Something else that people may not know about me is that my career has been closely tied to technology. So when I started really working in 06, around the time that my son was born, I was like, okay, I have all these creative skills. I gotta go out and get a job. And so, of course, I wanted a job in fashion or entertainment, because who doesn't want to work in fashion and entertainment?
Right.
But I looked and I understood very quickly that they don't pay worth for nothing, because everybody wants those jobs. So I decided that I would work in technology companies, because in tech, they pay really well.
Right.
And so as a result, I got the opportunity to work with a lot of engineers. So although I am a very creative person, I think like an engineer.
He's always coming up with something like, oh, we should do that. And he's like, just put a form up and blah, blah. Like, you're very good at like making things very simple and easy and efficient. Mm-hmm. And I'm very much like, just dive in, get it done. Mm-hmm. But I'll spend hours doing something that, you know, doesn't necessarily need to take that long. So it's good to have an efficient person that is your partner.
Right.
Like, I think we have very compatible skill sets.
I think so too. And I know that you've had 3 businesses.
Yeah.
So what would you say is like something that most people don't know about your career journey?
I think one big thing is like he said, with the 10,000 hours, like, I have worked 2 jobs since like 2009, you know?
Wow.
So like, just grinding, like, go home, get on the computer, work some more, probably lost relationships, you know, like, it's real.
Right.
Like, I was very focused and knew I wanted to create something bigger than myself.
Right.
Didn't necessarily know what it was, but I recognized that where I was not going to work. So I was like, you know, my first company may not be the end all be all, but it's something.
So what would you guys say was your last career low, and how did you bounce back from that? Because the message we want to get out there is that, like, you know, you're going to be successful, but you're going to have like some rainy days, and you have to pick yourself back up and get out there.
Well, I mean, a career low for me was, you know, being in corporate and earning crazy money, like, and then not having that job anymore, right? And so you get accustomed to living a certain lifestyle, and then you have to figure out, oh shit, what am I gonna do? And I found myself, this was like right in the middle of the recession, and it was a very bad time not to have a job. But then also, because I had gotten comfortable in my job, I hadn't stayed marketable. So my portfolio was out of date, my resume was out of date. And so it took me, you know, I had to take time to build those tools to market myself again. So I've been through a couple of very rough winters.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, what about you?
I, at a certain point, was working, again, multiple jobs at all times.
Yeah.
Was working.
Let me find out you Jamaican.
Right. Oh, that's the running joke in my family. Like, what is your deal? So I was working, I was still working on my own platform, Made Woman, and then I was working in a startup called Intern Queen. And it came time, I stepped away from Made Woman, which was like my baby, my first everything, like the hardest thing. It was like gut-wrenchingly hard. And then kind of realizing, okay, I went from I have my own thing and I'm building this thing to it's gone. I no longer have it. Yeah. It's not mine anymore.
Yeah.
And then working for somebody, and we were very close in age, and it was a wonderful company, wonderful startup, but I'm an owner, you know, and that's something that's in me. It had nothing to do with anyone. I could work for Barack Obama, but I would have been like, I want to do my own thing.
Yeah.
So that period, it's very similar. It was like I hadn't properly branded myself during my building of my company.
Right.
I had a brand, that I had built. But once I didn't have that anymore, it was like, who is Lindsey Day? What am I? There were just a couple of different signs that happened along the way. And actually, a former writer of mine gave me the Business Model Generation book.
Okay.
Former writer of mine at Made Woman. And I started flipping through it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is like kind of the key. Because I knew I wanted to do marketing.
Right.
But the business model portion of it really... To me, there's so many marketers. Everybody does social media. And I didn't want to be another one of those people in a sea of those people.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So adding that tangible, and I was a business major. So it was like, okay, this makes sense,
Right.
But kind of like redefining myself and reinventing myself was so hard. Like it was probably like a 6 to 8 month process of just like deciding I was going to go forward with it, and then starting to pick up clients, and then Crown was like a case study. I was like, well, it's a dope project. Let's just start doing it. Like, I was luckily in a place where I was very open and wanted a new something to kind of latch onto. Yeah. And it was like, oh, this thing. Wait, I'm gonna take that. Like we're gonna.
You gotta be paying attention because opportunities be all around you.
It's true.
Opportunity might walk right up to you.
Right.
And if you are not prepared and you're not awake, you will miss it. And then people be like, oh, how come I can't? Well, you probably had two opportunities already. You just wasn't ready.
So speaking of opportunities, how are you guys using social media to creatively further develop the Crown Magazine brand?
Well, one of the things is, every social media platform has its own culture. And so respecting the culture of that platform. Mm-hmm. And early on, we were strategic in deciding what we would do and where, and also what we wouldn't do, right? Because there's a lot of pressure to say, okay, well, there's Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat. You have to have a profile everywhere. And very early, we was like, nah, we're gonna do what we can do well for now, and then we will expand our footprint as our resources expand. And so because Crown is largely about aesthetic, Instagram was a logical first place to start. And so we really focused on curating very well and providing a lot of value on the one platform versus trying to be everywhere, with no audience.
And really, it's like we touched physically so many of our first followers. So it's like we always say we're print first but born in the digital age. So versus an old school magazine that's like, oh, these millennials are on Snapchat, we better go over there, let's figure this thing out, like 3 years in. Yeah. It's like we are born in this culture. This is our culture. Like we are all about, we do social media, we do digital strategy. So it was like we made it such an integral part of the magazine. Like the first piece had like an Instagram roundup, like cool stuff from Instagram that we found, because that is the world we live in. We are in a digital age, and everyone, who was like, print is dead, print is dead. Print is not dead, it's just the old model is dead.
So what's the new model?
The new model is
we're creating it.
Direct to consumer, first of all.
Yeah.
None of that. The newsstands, the bookstores, there's so much waste in that distribution model. So we're direct to consumer first. And then also it's about knowing, like I say it like this, the blogs killed the newspaper, but blogs couldn't kill the magazine. Because the magazine is an experience, it's an escape. And so, we publish quarterly, and part of the reason for that is because since digital happened so fast, we could never keep pace with that. So instead, we take a step back and we try to take a deeper look into the content that we create and, provide more substance, so that when you get our magazine, you actually feel like you got your money's worth. So another part of our business model is to really engage in conversation with our following. And, you know, a lot of what's actually in the magazine comes from conversations that we've had with our social following. And so in a sense, it's almost like cheating because we get to see what's on the minds of our readers and offer them, you know, content that is going to reflect their needs, wants, and their sensibilities.
Right. And then two, taking it a step further, being able, because we've cultivated this organic network of followers on Instagram, for example, you know, we haven't done crazy hashtagging and we haven't growth hacked, we haven't paid for followers. So we have people who are truly engaged with the content and who want to be a part of it, whether it's contributing or whatever. So we put calls out for casting for the magazine, for particular looks that we're going for, or photographers, and we have a real tangible, you know, audience of people. Like, it's not just like random, you know, numbers on the screen. These are people who want to be a part of this and are a part of this culture. That's another
part about being intentional with the business. The fact that we didn't growth hack on social just to get the vanity metrics up is because when I look at the Instagram following, I want to know that all of them thousands of people are potential customers. And then it's just a matter of what do we need to do to convert them into a sale. And so this is from the beginning when we started, you know, Instagram. We knew that we only wanted to engage with people that were qualified for our product, that would be interested in our product.
Right.
Well, speaking of people interested in your product, you guys know that we're nothing without you. So we definitely wanted to get in touch with the fans, the supporters, and see what is it that you guys wanted to know. What do you want to know from these folks? So let's take a moment to check Instagram and Twitter to see some questions. Let's see. All right, so Goldilocks wants to know, how did you make the leap from a 9-to-5 steady paycheck to being financially stable in order to become an entrepreneur?
Well, the first thing to know is that it's not just like a switch. You know, if you do it right, you plan to do it, and you gotta save some money, and also, you know, put a support system around you. The fact that we're both able to consult is really what makes it so that we can survive in this climate. But the other part of that is you can't be no punk. Don't be scared to leave your job. Like I had this for a long time because I have a son, and so I was like, well, I have to earn, and I have to earn well to provide for my family. So for me, I always, when I worked in corporate, I always had a project that I was working on. And I always told myself, and I would wonder, well, if I dedicated 40 hours a week to my idea, I could probably make just as much money as I could working corporate, and it's absolutely the case. So don't be no punk, just go.
Yeah.
Just get busy.
There's never going to be a right time. Never.
That's right.
Right.
Obviously, you can do things to mitigate the risk to some extent. Savings. You know, if you're at a steady job with a nice salary, save up for a minute, obviously. You know, man, but it's again, you just have to take the leap. You have to make the jump, and yeah, I guess just similar to what you said, it's like having other things, being able to pick up another project, but hustle. You know, if you got to Airbnb your place, Airbnb your place. If you got to, you know, it's like figure it out. Really, at the end of the day, there's no formula for this.
And you gotta be willing to sacrifice. You gotta be willing to like be broke for a time to know that you're gonna come out on the other side and be rich forever. Right? Like my whole camp mission in life is to build transgenerational wealth.
Right.
I feel very confident that if my father had something to hand to me when I became a man, there's no telling what I could have accomplished. But because I had to start from nothing, I'm determined that my children won't have to do that.
Right.
Like when my son is 18 or he's in his early 20s and he has an idea and he wants to now express power in this world, I'm gonna be able to provide him with the means to do so. you know. So you got to sacrifice now
Yep.
to do something greater later.
So I love those responses. I'm gonna do a follow-up because Goldilocks girl, she got like 5 people on there like, what she said? Amen. All right. Lean back. So my follow-up for that is, when did you get to a point where you added on other people outside of yourself? Because I know that you guys mentioned contributors. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, like, did you get to a point where you can pay them? How did that work? Or is it just like, listen, like, we're building, you're building, and like, when we get it, we'll pay you? Like, how does that work?
You know what's interesting is that, and it's been like this for me, even when I was working corporate, anytime I encountered a brother or sister that had an idea and I was doing something, I would always help them. I designed a lot for free. You know, that's a part of the 10,000 hours I was talking about. And that's been very much the case for us, is that people see what we're doing and they see that we can actually go and win. Mm-hmm. And they want to support us.
Right.
You know, so.
And like not being an asshole throughout your life, you know, like it's been, I guess, validating in a way, like to see people who, you know, there were dark times in my career where I felt like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like I thought I had it all figured out, but really realizing that along each step of the way, like there have been people involved from every step in my career that now see what we're doing and either have connected me with somebody or have contributed or have, you know, some money came out of nowhere and it's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, you know, and you can't make those things come out of thin air. Like even our partnership, we were friends and the thing is, like, we were like around each other, but we were never like tight, close friends like that, like homies. But it was like we worked together at that time. We were cool, good rapport, and we ended up, you know, that happened. And that has happened so many times. Like just long-term, just building relationships with people. Like really investing, like you said, like investing in other people, investing in maybe you lend 30 minutes and do an informational interview, or maybe you do, you know, like the little things that don't take that much, but people remember those things.
I think that response kind of is an answer to Amani Jahan's question. You let me know if you want to add or not. But Imani wants to know, how do you get people to see you without the whole check me out bit? I want an organic following of people who respect and enjoy our website.
Be dope. Be dope. If you're not dope,
Authentic.
then nobody's gonna want to be. No one's gonna be interested in what you're doing. So that's the first thing. Be dope. Have something to offer and add value. And then the other side to that is like even in us launching on Instagram, we put the emphasis on engagement, not on content. So we put up some content, but it wasn't about posting a lot. It was about going and being a part of the community and showing love to people, commenting and like really interacting. And especially on platforms like Instagram, it happens naturally. Like if you come and you show love, you comment on someone's content, they're naturally gonna go, okay, well, what is this person about? And they're gonna go see. And so the key is that when they come to check you out, you gotta be dope.
Right.
And I think it's like being authentic. Like we live in a time where everybody wants to put on airs and pretend like there's something like so special, and it's like, you just be you. You know, I think this works well because it's like, again, an extension of us. Like I saw my mother be diagnosed with breast cancer and decide, why am I putting chemicals into my scalp? Like into our brains, we're putting chemicals, you know?
Right.
And seeing her process, seeing her come alive and go on to run a marathon, and she's ziplining in Hawaii, and she's doing all of these things that, you know, my mom before, mom I had my whole life growing up, was the one, you know, you're on a water ride and wherever, and she's finding a plastic bag, or, you know, and just, it's those little things that aren't so little because it affects how you move through this world. And I think seeing her transformation, seeing close friends of mine, like all of my girls in Harlem from college, we were all straight in college, and we all are natural now. And it's just there's a certain ease about it, you know, and I think that is what it's kind of captured in our brand, you know, is like really embracing who you are.
Right.
And just rocking with it. Like, nobody can tell you how to do you.
Yes.
You have to do you.
I said that in my head and then you said it out loud. I love it. Nobody can tell you how to do you, people. So I think, you know, in closing, do you have any last words or comments to the natural hair community, specifically about going natural or being natural? Somebody that's on the fence. Because although it's like, it seems to be something that is more, I guess, like widely received now. It's kind of like at its height, you know, being natural. You know, it's still difficult.
Yeah.
So in your, I don't know, you know, what you see as like the common problems, you know, or trends or threads that you see in the comments, but just, you know, based off of like what you know of like your community, what you've seen, is there anything that each of you have to like speak to that person who's thinking about going natural, or that person that is natural but, you know, is unsure about XYZ?
Man, I think it's just such a personal decision and a journey that you have to embark on.
Yeah.
I would never want Crown to be perceived as something that's like everybody should be natural. You know, we're not mad at people who wear weaves. We're not mad at protective styles. Like what makes us happy is for women to see themselves and to see ourselves in a natural state, and not to feel like we have to wear weaves to be beautiful. We don't have to straighten our hair to be beautiful. I want a little girl to pick this up and to grow up in a world where she feels beautiful, and there's not a million different things saying you have to tweak yourself and change yourself and fit into this narrow depiction of what blackness is, because we are so wildly diverse and beautiful, and it's just, yeah, like that's really what I want the takeaway to be when it's all said and done.
It's very much the case. Like we're not in a position to evangelize, right? As a matter of fact, we just simply want to have the conversation with the women who already are thinking about it, or who already have decided to embrace like the hair that they was born with. And we are just reflecting them to them, right? We're showing them themselves to build this thing. And I think the way that it'll grow is in a very organic fashion. It's maybe the woman who has always relaxed her hair, she's gonna develop the confidence by seeing herself presented in her natural state and say, and that's another important part about the magazine. Most of the sisters that we've shot are not models. This is just sisters from the neighborhood, right? So when you open the magazine, I want you to be like, oh, I just saw her on the train. Oh, my auntie looked just like that. Oh, shit, there I am. That's me right there on that page, right? And
because where do we see ourselves now, you know?
Yeah.
I believe that if we do that, if we present that to black women, even the black women who have not transitioned yet, they will begin to become more comfortable with the idea just by seeing how it's done.
I have like chills right now. I'm just like, I'm so excited. On behalf of everyone else on the other side of that screen, I just want to thank you for just having the courage to like turn this from an idea into like a real thing, and for allowing me and my sister and my mother and everyone else that looks like me, that has hair like mine, for me to like, you know, pick up something, imprint, and identify with it and see myself and know that it's coming from a place of love, it's coming from a place of understanding, and you're not just trying to sell me something.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I really,
Thank you.
you guys are the bomb.com.
I want to hug you. I don't want to mess up.
If you guys enjoyed this interview as much as I did, I need you to let me know. Don't be stingy, don't be cheap. I need you to like, I need you to comment, I need you to subscribe, I need you to share to all of your social media platforms. And then what I need you to do, I think y'all know what I need you to do. I need you to head to crownmag.com, yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
And get the magazine before the sale ends, people. Come on now, be smart with the coinage, okay? Until next time, bye.